Go.
Hello, my name is Alex Decker. Previously in speech 2, I talked about my trip and my experience in Sydney, Australia. Now in speech 3, I'm going to give you a little bit more in depth about my trip in Sydney, Australia and what I did. So the first day, me and my family decided to take a trip up towards the top of the Sydney Harbour Bridge. Now, not everyone can necessarily walk this bridge. I'm not trying to say that in a mean way, but if you are scared of heights, don't like water, climbing the bridge probably wouldn't be the best thing for you. Before you are allowed to even get buckled into the bridge itself, you have to go through a couple of training systems, I guess. There's a couple of ramps, there's a couple of ladders, stairs that you have to practice on with the jumpsuit and all. But before you even go up to the top of it, you can't bring any GoPros, you can't bring any phones, nothing. You have to leave all your personal belongings back in the beginning. But around this experience took about little over 2 hours. But the next thing we did after the Sydney Harbour Bridge, I think we probably had lunch, but we also took a tour of the Sydney Opera House. And like I said before, I still think it's really, really cool how it's not all one. For the longest time from Finding Nemo, I always thought it was just one giant opera house, but apparently there was like 8 or 9 of them, different stages that they perform. And they use the Sydney Opera House a lot. I would probably say every day they use the Sydney Opera House, so it's a very well put opera house. They use it a lot. So after that, the very next day, we took some of the cabs over to the Taronga Zoo. And since I've been traveling a lot, many of you guys know that, we usually try to support the zoos. My first time going, like really remembering a zoo was in San Diego, and I just had a lot of fun. And obviously if we're in Sydney, Australia, we have to go to a zoo. But many of these animals were not endangered, but you don't see them often. We saw a lot of Tasmanian devils. The Komodo dragons were pretty cool, and a bunch of kangaroos. Obviously kangaroos are pretty local, but one thing about the zoo that I enjoyed was there was a aerial tram. It was called the Sky Safari, and it kind of gave you a bird's eye view of the whole zoo. So if you look right here, those are the Sky Safaris, and you're going over some elephants, and you can still see the city of Sydney right there. So it's relatively close. You can just take the water taxis right over, and that's what I'm going to be talking about next. Sydney, they use this water taxi system like how LA and New York uses their taxi cabs. They're all over. These water taxi systems weren't put in just for the tourists. When I was there, I saw a lot of regular citizens, regular locals getting on and off, either for work, not for work, going to a Bondi Beach, which I talked about last time. But there was actually a train on the mainland where me and my family didn't use that. We used the water taxi system, and we took pretty good advantage of that. But my cousin used the train system. She said it was kind of clean, but we just decided to stay on the water taxi side. But we used the water taxis to go around and go to different restaurants. And as you guys remember, the kangaroo burger and the alligator burger, they don't look that bad, like I said. They look like regular burgers, very good. But we also enjoyed the views. The views from these restaurants were incredible only because many of the restaurants were outdoors. A lot of people say you can't put a price on a view, but that view was that view was something else. From every restaurant, we could see either the Sydney Harbor Bridge or the Sydney Opera House itself. But in conclusion, Australia was probably one of my favorite, most memorable places ever, and I just really, really hope I can visit there again.